record.
All right, and we are live.
All right, I'm recording.
Record. All right.
Henry, turn that down, buddy.
Hello and welcome to the Verhoeven Effect podcast. I'm Conlon.
I'm Nathan.
And Matt.
I don't know if Matt's watching the show, but we have Matt on here, so
I'm gonna do my best to react to what we're talking about.
side commentary.
Yes.
Well, actually, I thought an idea where we'd make you the de facto host where you ask us questions about the shows, but we'll see. We'll play by ear.
I can do that, sure.
So, Season 1, Episode 5 of Verhoeven Effect. We are also watching Season 1, Episode 5 of all three shows, which is we are watching network television because me and Nathan don't generally watch network television. We are watching 2014's NCIS New Orleans, 2008's The Mentalist, and 1984's Miami Vice.
Yes.
These are all vaguely, mostly police procedurals, and we're kind of watching them, three of them at the same time, as you would if you were an elderly person, and every day a week has your crime show for you. So,
is CBS still banking on that strategy? Because they were doing that for a while, but I don't know if they.
I mean, they're canceling NCIS New Orleans, but they're adding NCIS Hawaii. Also, they made 4 different CS.
Does that compete with Hawaii 5-0, or is that over?
That might be over. I'm not sure, but I believe also CBS makes that. They made 4 CSI shows, but they're all gone now.
They should make a CSI White Lotus.
I have not.
That show's great.
Is that the one at the hotel?
Yeah.
Okay.
And then they had 3 Criminal Minds series, and now I think there's just 1, or maybe they're all gone. I can't remember. Yeah, CBS makes a lot of these procedurals,
and we don't know because we don't watch them until now.
Yeah, I don't watch that either. I guess I kind of have an older person's viewing habits. The only thing I watch on CBS is CBS Sunday Morning and 60 Minutes. So I guess I am kind of old, but
CBS Sunday Morning is a great show.
It is a very good show.
I'm glad they still do that, but yeah. Well, what I'm finding out 5 episodes, really 15 episodes in, this kind of programming is, you get comfortable with it. You kind of know what to expect. It's there's going to be some surprises, but it's going to be within a high-low range. It's not going to be like True Detective where it's going to be kind of like plodding along and then shoot off like a rocket ship into hell. These are always, you're going to be in a comfort zone.
Yeah.
These shows.
Like an old pair of comfortable slippers.
Yeah.
You slip back on every week.
That is supplanted your favorite show of all time, right? That first season of True Detective.
Yeah, that's pretty much I've watched that probably 15 times.
So that's the apex of television for you. So yeah, I don't think network television's really going to approach that.
Well, it's either that or it's there's an old documentary about a Panzer. Let's watch that. That's the kind of stuff I'm sucked into. Or it's let's learn about a Tall King radar, from this Cold War. I'll watch 6 hours of that, or buy a book about it. But yeah, I'm finding this to be an old friend is over for dinner. I'm not hanging on every word.
No.
I mean, I take a lot of notes when I watch these just to kind of remember what I see and so we can talk about it. But I'm not, even with note taking, it's kind of a passive thing.
I find that I take. Well, maybe it's because I watch them in order that we review them, and maybe that's maybe an order of quality too, because I have a lot of notes for NCIS New Orleans because I'm trying to extract as much out of it as I can, whereas with The Mentalist, I'm not taking as much notes because I'm kind of more just caught it up in the show that I'm not taking notes. And then Miami Vice, I almost have no notes, maybe because it's the third one I'm watching, but also I'm just letting it happen to me, and I'm just I'll remember this. I don't know.
Well, I mean, we kind of have wheelhouses on this show.
Yeah,
it's if you take 0 notes for Miami Vice, I'll be able to talk about the episode for 20 minutes because this was one of those things that was an influence in my early life, so those memories stick. was Miami Vice. I was probably too young to be. I mean, I would have been 10 when it started. So
That's old enough, yeah.
yeah. Well,
So first up, we have NCIS New Orleans, season 1, episode 5. It happened last night. Original air date October 21st, 2014, CBS Tuesday. Episode description is the NCIS team is given 22-hour deadline after the murder investigation of a chief warrant officer who specialized in counterintelligence reveals his wife had been kidnapped and is being held for ransom. Meanwhile, senior FBI agent Fornell travels to the Big Easy to assist with the case. Showrunner Gary Glasberg. This episode written by Gary Glasberg, Jake Bergstein, and Sonia Winton. Directed by Arvin Brown.
now this one was kind of a departure a little bit.
I thought you'd like kind of wrap this up in with the same with last week's episode where you're disappointed because the initial lead on kind of feels like it's going to be more worldly involved. Like, oh, this guy interrogated people at Gitmo, so this is gonna have like deep repercussions that digs into terrorism, but then it just results being into like a, not necessarily a crime of passion, but a crime of opportunity. Local. It doesn't involve the whole world.
Yeah. Well, so again, I'm 5 episodes in now, so again, I'm like, oh, this isn't going to be like someone that was interrogated at Gitmo came and exacted a bloody revenge. This is going to be like, oh, there's something wrong, something going on. Well, the guy who gets killed is like, other than the people saying he was a good guy and he did a good job and he left law school and when 9/11 happened to do this work, and it's like, okay, well, he sounds like a good character. It's like, are they going to find out bad stuff about him? No, just about his wife, her weird family, and a kind of an arc that didn't make sense, but we'll get into that later.
But yeah, the guy that dies was a Marine. He was a chief warrant officer. Sometimes affectionately known in the Marine Corps as Chiwos. They are chief. Yeah, well, yeah, you'd have to be in the military to really hear that. Yeah. It's usually like something where it's like lower enlisted Marines will like talk about like, Chiwo Brown or something like that. And it's like, and like always in my back of mind, like, don't say that out loud. Someone's going to get mad at you for not being able to say chief warrant officer. Anyways, chief warrant officers come out of the enlisted ranks. They are actually officers. You have to salute them. And they usually fucking hate that because they usually are tired and working all the time and they have a cup of coffee and then they have to like switch hands with the coffee to return their salute.
We're like, stop with the saluting.
Yeah, fuck you. Generally, it's like generally I believe you have to be at least a sergeant to apply to be a chief warrant officer. I'm not sure if they go to officer candidate school or if they go to some other kind of the chief warrant officer school, but they're kind of experts in their field. They are both the wrath of God and a godsend at the same time. If you're on the wrong end of them, it can be a really shitty time. If they're on your side, it's thank God because they are not enlisted. They're officers, so they can push their weight around if they need to. But they are to be feared and behold. So that is chief warrant officers.
Now, is that just are those guys usually like a specialized class? Like they have a very specific job? Like it's fly aircraft or they work in intelligence or.
Yeah, it's generally it's like
you rise to as like a general person.
It would kind of be like whatever your MOS is. Like this guy would be like the guy who knows everything about his MOS and be in charge of the MOS, essentially. I don't know. It's kind of the same thing with how when we get to a master sergeant, like that's kind of what master means is like they're a master of their MOS. So it's kind of similar in that way. But with these guys, they're a master of their MOS, but they're also officers. And they tend to be the people you fear the most. Anyway, so that's chief warrant officer. So, but
what does the warrant part stand for?
I don't know.
It's after the band warrant, isn't it?
Well, I like that they don't have.
What is an officer? Isn't it called a commission?
Commissioned officer.
A commissioned officer, yeah. Because
so that's warrant.
Yeah, well. Yeah, maybe because like an NCO, that's what NCO stands for.
You can just make it up and be like, it's like when you see one of those, they're signing a death warrant. That's what it is. I'm not really sure.
I'd have to look that up. I don't know. I know enough about the military to know I don't know enough about the military.
Well, you know more than I know.
Yeah, when I wasn't in the military, I thought I knew everything because I'd watched movies and read a bunch of books. And like, no, absolutely, I did not know anything about the military.
You're saying Major Payne is not true. I get it.
Actually, in some ways, that's
it's very true, right? It's almost a documentary, cinema verite.
What would confuse me the most about when I read stuff like actual history is because I can like look up rank structures and stuff on the internet, but then it gets weird when like the CIA is involved with the military, and it's like, well, who's in charge of what? Or and mainly it's like guys that show up in sunglasses and like do this, do that, and it didn't happen. Good luck. No, that's like the CIA end of it, but then they'll change like the mission while they're doing it, and this is like real stuff. This is stuff that not fiction stuff, but stuff that really happened. And it's like, yeah, we're doing it this way now, and you guys have to do it because we say so. And it's like, what's the leadership there? I don't understand.
Well, I've never been in a government job, but all government jobs have like codes to their job structure. Yeah. And it's exactly the same in the military. So like in the enlisted ranks, it's like E1 to E9, officers like O1 to O7, I think as far as it goes. And like those all have corresponding job codes that can also correspond to just a government job, which would be a CIA guy.
Oh, okay.
So, a C7 overrides a whatever. So, but anyways.
Makes sense.
Anyway, CSI New Orleans. This guy
Scott Bakula.
Not CSI, NCIS.
Or NCIS, yeah, sorry. NCIS. No crime box for Dr. Wade.
No, although the body was in a swamp. Okay. So we'll see if she couldn't sit on a box next to the body if it was in a body of water. But we'll see next time. We'll see what the body is next time. We're gonna solve by slowly going through these and not cheating the riddle of the crime. They set up Wade has relationship issues. This is the second time for this show, third time for all the shows that they figured that the mystery has been someone was drowned in the different water than where they were dumped.
Yes, that's come up again.
Yeah, so second time for this show, third overall. So I'm guessing we'll see how many times this happens. I think we're supposed
like they wanted to horn the waterboarding angle into it.
Yeah,
so that was a way they could do it.
Yeah, it's like, oh, this guy was a Gitmo, obviously waterboarded people, and this was sweet revenge. I read, and you have the nosy neighbor, which I just wrote bandage on the neighbor's arm because I knew that would probably be something at some point. So.
Yeah.
But then like it immediately, well, actually it doesn't immediately. Then they have the wife's brother, which I wrote down his name, Oliver Huntington.
Yeah.
Because sometimes I write down these names like, is there a deeper meaning? Does this make? Nah, I don't know. But these are like the rich of New Orleans, and I kind of wrote down like, are the rich out of reach? Like, can nobody touch them? But it seemed like the NCIS, had to. Although, like, who actually killed the Marine?
It was wasn't it the lawyer?
Was it the lawyer? Okay, I didn't know.
Because remember when they recreated the crime because they found blood on the water fountain?
Yeah.
It was like, like somebody came at him from behind and just bashed his head into that.
Yeah.
And he was unconscious, and they stuck his head in there, and he just started sucking water in, and he would die. You wouldn't need to be like a combat guy to do that to somebody.
Yeah.
Just got the drop on him. And also it seems like that lawyer had like some kind of demonic self-determination. Like, I can't have the money. Boom! It's like, wow, what is that? Like,
yeah.
Oh, fuck.
I must have really loved that name for the lady.
Yeah.
They had a decent car chase.
Yeah, they did.
Here's another name I wrote down. Rance. I can't even remember. Was he like the guy making the whiskey or the moonshine?
Yeah, I think so.
Okay, that was another misdirect. A lot of misdirects, That's kind of what these shows do. It's like, who did it? It's like, well, we're going to have 5 false misdirects till we eventually get to the one person we need. which I didn't know. I didn't really know like what the point is. They just send him out there. The guy holds a shotgun on him, and then they pull one on him, and then they're like, oh, he's just making moonshine, and that's just kind of there. Oh, well, I guess the Oliver was renting out the house or something like that, or the lawyer was. I can't remember.
It was in his name.
Okay,
but his lawyer did it. Yeah,
right, because they look up the paper and they're like, the ends are the same. Oh yeah, they have an FBI guy come in, and I believe he's from normal NCIS.
Yeah, he's like the weird facts guy. Like he knows handwriting and stuff.
Yeah.
He's like they're obscure because I looked up the character. But I think they do that to give these actors some work.
Yeah.
When they're not.
Well, also they're
reading through episodes.
Yeah, they want to build up the show, so they have as many guest characters as they can. So.
Yeah.
The lawyer's name is Lanier. Again, no idea. Just shoots himself for apparently no reason. There's no way out. The money's transferred. Bang.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, I like the bit where they're at headquarters and Pride gets a phone call and he just swipes to the TV and they're talking, which I mean that's been around for a while, but that must have been kind of new then.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, and then they eventually then they have the ransom stuff, and then that gets resolved sort of, but then they eventually just find her the wife tied in a trailer in New Orleans, and I was like, God, that must be hot.
Yeah, I was thinking to myself, she would be dead after an hour.
Yeah. But she was fine. She should be just sweating profusely and nearly passed out, but she was fine. Well, I mean, she was terrified and scared, but they find her, and then it ends up being the nosy neighbor lady who, because she was she dealt blackjack or something at the gambling casino, so that's how she knew that
Huntington had a gambling problem.
Yeah, and then the wife was his sister, and so that's where the whole ransom thing came along, and then it was just.
Here's a logic loophole here. I mean, they don't have to explain this, but it's why did the brother, was he getting the full trust and the sister was cut out of it? Why would she not have half the trust or something? Why was he the guy?
I don't, because did they write her out of the trust because she married a military guy and the family didn't want her to?
Oh, maybe that explains it. Okay, because I never understood. It's this lady would have equal money to him. Why are they just trying to drain it out of her? But okay, yeah, he did say something about him marrying a guy in the military.
But also the lawyer who ended up being bad was the one running the trust anyways. So it seemed to be a weird way to go about things to just get the money. It seemed like he could have just stole the money any time.
Yeah, just put it to an account in Barbados and sail off.
Good old-fashioned white-collar crime. Everyone's doing it.
I mean, much easier to do that than blow your brains out.
Seems like a less extreme option.
Because he's already wire transferred to offshore accounts anyways. It's he could have done this without the rent. But, whatever. It's the show, they gotta go through a lot of shows, so sometimes I can understand they're not gonna end to end make all sense. You build up a thing to a commercial break, you got 5 of these things, that's just how a show works.
Yeah, I'm kind of learning to accept these things they're still sticking out in my mind, but it's also but these guys are grind writing all this stuff. They're not pinning a masterpiece. It's we got to get this much material out. It does make me wonder what they cut from the scripts, but
all the good stuff.
Yeah. Matt, have you seen any episodes of NCIS New Orleans, or do you have any history with the NCIS franchise in general?
Well, I was gonna say I listened to the very first episode of the Verhoeven Effect, the entire thing, so I have a concept of what's going on or what you're trying to do. But no, I've never watched those shows because I don't really have ability to watch them because I have an antenna for my TV, so it doesn't really work. So it's kind of hard for me to watch it, but I understand the concept of it. and I can kind of visualize, I kind of vaguely know who's in that show, so I kind of am trying to imagine what you're talking about. But yeah, because is it similar every week where like there's a different case and then there's Mr. X and like
Yeah.
yeah.
I mean, it's a police procedural. The only thing that's different about NCIS in general is that it's the Navy Criminal Investigation
Service. Yeah.
Yeah. So they investigate crimes that revolve around the Navy and the Marine Corps.
Is there ever any like spin-off with JAG where they like do cross
well,
Judge Advocate General?
Yeah, technically NCIS is a spin-off of JAG.
Okay.
Because it's the same showrunner came from there. I think it's.
Is JAG still on? Is that
no.
Did they write the headline in Variety when they got canceled? JAG off.
Somebody had to.
Yeah.
BuzzFeed something.
But yeah,
but why do you think so many of these type of shows exist? Just because people watch them, like. Because when did they start doing all these? Like in the late 90s, early 2000s? Or?
Well, I mean, JAG was late 90s. NCIS, I believe, started in around 2000 or 2002, something like that.
Yeah.
Just found a formula that worked. Like, we're going to ride this horse till it's dead.
What?
This is the safe bet situation because at the time, a lot of, especially like JAG and CSI, and what's the other one? In NCIS,
Minds.
the one we're watching, this became, it was like either do this or do reality TV.
Yeah.
Those were the two things that were working, was like procedurals, but we can't just do New York cop dramas because that's been done since the 60s. So now we're going to try, we're going to throw science into it, and we're going to have
or they throw the military into it because it's more mass appeal for people in other parts of the country.
Yeah.
Like, it's the military. Whoa.
Well, yeah, that's the idea I had for like why NCIS was a good pick, because like you could have a normal investigative show, but every once in a while you could just throw some military equipment in there and have some cool action scenes. But so far there hasn't been a whole lot of action on NCIS New Orleans. They kind of have this whole like personal touch thing with this show where it's all about like getting to know people. So that's why like there's always this thing that seems like it's gonna have like a broad reaching effect about like world consequences are going to become from this investigation, but then it just comes down to like, oh, it's just kind of like a crime of passion.
Well, just petty crime.
And then they kind of figure it out by like investigating people and like really getting to know them rather than just like pure science. Because like you have CCH.
So here's another question.
Go ahead.
Sorry. One question. So since this is like military based, is there some part of the military involved in every one of these cases? Somehow, like it's a military member or something, because otherwise they wouldn't be investigating it, right?
Yeah, every death has been a military member in the show.
Okay.
And I don't know if like they investigate like robbery or if it's just purely. Well, I guess they'd have to do all kinds of criminal investigation. But so far, it's always been murders.
Okay.
Two friends. Oh, how my shoes look.
Your shoes look good, buddy. It's okay.
Yeah, they're yellow.
So for our next show, we watched The Mentalist.
Yep.
This was title of the episode was Redwood. It was written by Andy Bushell, directed by John Baring, and
October 28th, 2008, CBS.
October 28th, 2008, CBS. They could have called this episode, but I know they're sticking with the theme, is Who Killed Kara Palmer? It was set in the woods.
Like Twin Peaks.
Yeah. Exactly.
A girl is found stabbed to death in a forest, and her amnesic best friend is the prime suspect, although Patrick has doubts and attempts to jog her memory.
Yep. So this was I mean, all the Mentalist episodes are good, but it's like, oh, what tricks is Jane gonna pull, or what logic connection is he gonna make?
I like this time around, like not all his tricks work, so that's kind of fun. They have them fail, so I was kind of I like the humorous one where he has everybody puts up their hands. He's like, all right, who here killed Laura and stole the other? I can't remember the other girl's name, and then like nobody puts their hands down, and it's like, oh, that usually gets a hit. Yeah, I did like the part where like everyone's looking for the body, and then Jane's just like, did anybody check under the car? It's like, of course we did. And then they realize that they're lying to themselves. They didn't check under the car, and then there's
that's because the dog kept hitting on it.
Yeah.
It's like, well, the dog says the body's here. And they have the weird sheriff again.
Yeah.
Which the only reason I think that guy's got to keep coming up is, number one, he's appeared. This is the second time, and also that actor is very well known, like character.
Oh, okay.
On TV.
Oh, this is the same sheriff from the.
Yeah, same sheriff.
Oh, okay. Yeah, because I remember you said like he's probably gonna come back because he was too weird in that episode, and
yeah,
I wasn't sure. I was like, I figured they just get rid of him, but yeah, he's back.
Yeah, this time he acts more conventional. He doesn't like. Just, he's not like weird, like, oh, you got to come with me. You're drunk. It's my car, damn it. And he's pulling guns on cops, other police. No, none of that happened this time. But I'm just, because I know that guy, it's like, okay, they're not paying for him just to play the crazy sheriff all the time. There's got to be something more.
But yeah, I wrote here, a dead girl named Palmer. So I immediately try to make some Twin Peaks connections this whole episode.
It would have been funny if David Lynch was playing the sheriff or whatever. That would have been.
Of course, we checked under the car. Oops.
I'll get back to you. I have to do some transcendental meditation. See you later.
The CBI is going to take over the case. This is my cousin's sister's aunt's nephew, and it's some woman like doing weird shit. Things like, you know what that means, don't you? You can just do the same shit. People would say it's brilliant.
The buttons are the eyes of the soul.
But that didn't happen. Has David Lynch ever appeared on network TV shows, not where he's directing it?
He was in something. I can't remember. He acted in something, and I saw it, and I can't remember what it was now.
Well, I mean, Twin Peaks was a network TV show.
Yeah, but he was running it and stuff.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm not sure if anybody's like had
something.
Him. Well, I mean, wait, he does the voice of himself on the Cleveland show, right? Or is it somebody else doing the voice for him?
It's one of those. It's one of those. Yeah, I can't remember. It's Cleveland show or
American
Dad or which one? Yeah. One or the other. He does do his own voice. Yeah.
But but I think in there is he David Lynch or is he just like a bartender?
He's just a regular bartender, but it's David Lynch. Yeah.
But here, we have Lisbon takes control of her. She asserts her dominance that CBI is going to take. She's not here to assist them. She's here to take over the investigation. So she asserts her dominance. And then they meet some other sheriffs that her backup deputies are going to help out. And they assume too much. And so she basically puts them in their place and is like, hey, we don't know what's going on here. Like, don't assume that. And of course, they highlight that guy. He'll be back. Oh yeah, and then I have something here where when they're looking at a picture and they zoom in and stuff on it. It's very every police procedural does this. But the thing I always hate is they're basically dragging a box. But no one's ever using a mouse. They're just hitting buttons on the keyboard. Nobody zooms in on a fucking picture by hitting shit on the keyboard.
Yeah.
No.
You probably can do it, but nobody does it that way.
It's not practical.
I mean, you can hit Control Plus and it'll zoom in, but they're literally highlighting a box, which you can't do that or not well with a keyboard. You have to use a fucking mouse for that.
Yeah.
But I mean, all that shit there, those graphics you see on the computer are all added in post anyway. So the actors have no idea what they're doing. So of course they're just pounding away on the keyboard like it means something. So, but so many shows do that. But anyways. But yeah, they find the girl. She's just eating chips, drinking Gatorade, covered in blood, holding a knife. Yeah. It's well. Okay, I guess she did stab her friend and she doesn't know why. And, they're thinking that she has convenient amnesia, but Jane doesn't. They have a weird scene where there's a a lady playing the piano, and he has a flashback to his wife and child who are now deceased, and that's when he gets his inspiration for like, oh, I think I can jog her memory with some music. And yeah, nobody's supposed to see her, but like Jane basically has a prison escape out of the jail with her, which is another. That's always the thing with him, is that like he's always doing something that's like wrong. And it's like, is this gonna fuck the whole case?
Yeah.
You're just waiting for that to happen, where his like all his intuitions go to the wrong place, but hasn't happened just yet. Oh yeah, and then they find that truck driver because he was like in the video of like their bachelorette party. Then they have the fight in the bathroom, and they have a great shot where like they have a shot like through the guy's leg, and then Van Pelt comes in and just kicks him right in the balls. I was like, oh, what a great groin shot. So, you also have another Cho deadpan one-liner where the guy's like gets bashful about being overweight, and then Cho just goes, you know, with a low-carb diet and exercise, you can look completely differently. He just delivers it completely straight, and everybody else laughs. Cho's
I have a solution for your problem.
Have you thought about this?
And then also Jane steals evidence, which they have to explain to him, but he seems to be like pretend like he doesn't know that's wrong. But I don't. Or he acts like, that one's kind of weird. It's like, well, now you have your fingerprints all over it. Yeah, just return it to the evidence bag and don't tell anybody you took it out. It's like, anyways, whatever.
Nobody will notice. It's fine.
He pretends to put it back in the evidence bag, but of course he steals it again and uses it to help Nicole remember. And so he takes her out to the woods and tries to recreate the scene. And here they haven't necessarily ruled out the boyfriend. They haven't ruled out her because she's still like the prime suspect. And then eventually it just ends up being the deputy at random. Like apparently he thought that Nicole was too good for the guy she was marrying, and that's why he killed Kara. That thing doesn't really hold up very well, but
yeah, it seems like the loose ends, because people didn't seem to be fully in charge. Like Jane didn't seem to be fully in charge of all the events in this.
Yeah.
Which is, they have to do that occasionally.
Well, I mean, it's really to build up the tension of like, oh, Lisbon's in danger. Like they know the guy who it is, and she's like searching cabins for this guy. And then
it was a real callback to Silence of the Lambs, when she's in the kitchen and she realizes who that guy is finally. It's like, but it's like, oh, she's in the room with the killer, and the house they're raiding is in another city. It's like she's in trouble.
we have a bunch of like breaking the fourth wall stuff here, which is kind of interesting. Remember, this is in 2008, so this might have been novel at the time, but they have that part where they're interrogating the truck driver, where he explains how a lot of in modern juries, because they've seen all these crime shows on television, they expect there to be way more evidence, physical evidence, than what there actually is in normal crime cases. And so they end up letting people go because they don't have like them dead to rights with all the CSI stuff.
I actually had a cop tell me that a long time ago, too. The same thing. When I heard that, I was like, oh, yeah, I remember when that guy was interrogating me. And, this is a long story, but yeah, I actually had a cop tell me, it's like, yeah, this isn't like TV where we solve it in, 8 hours, a couple in an hour. It's like, yeah, I know that. Yeah, there was a few things like the cell phone where, turn your cell phone on speaker and throw it on the ground and he'll yell out, and that'll fool the guy thinking there's other people there. I saw that on TV, there was a couple of those. I do remember that. Another interesting episode of The Mentalist.
Yeah.
There's nothing wrong with it. It wasn't again, there's little imperfections.
Yeah, I don't think any of the Mentalist episodes have necessarily been bad. It's just kind of the first episode.
We're getting familiar. It's like, oh,
Yeah.
the novelty's wearing off. Now it's like, well, why is this happening?
Question: Who plays the lead in this show? Isn't the guy from Dharma and Greg? Is that who it is, or who is the lead?
Simon
in the show?
Baker.
Yeah,
Simon Baker.
He's an Australian.
Okay. Oh, the blonde guy. That guy. Okay. What is that guy? I'm thinking of the guy from Dharma and Greg. What other show is he in? Do you know what I'm talking about?
I don't know.
It's a show like this, but it's not like this. I don't know. It's vague, but so he's Australian. Got it. That helps. I was envisioning the wrong person. Now I get it.
Yeah, he's. Let's look and see what else Simon Baker has been in.
I saw him in something,
He's
but
from
I can't
Tasmania. That's always a cool thing to say.
You don't hear that a lot. Yeah.
No, you don't. Let's see.
He actually talks like the Tasmanian devil. It's great.
Yeah, he has to work.
oh yeah, it's a disability. He braves himself for the show to act normal.
I don't know. He was in The Devil Wears Prada. That was before this.
Which is a lot like this show. Yeah.
Well, The Mentalist is his last TV credit on here. And that ended in 2015.
Okay. I don't know what I saw him in then, so okay, never mind. Sorry for the digression.
Oh no, that's fine.
And I'm not sure, like, are you talking about for Dharma and Greg? Are you talking about Greg himself?
Yeah.
'Cause I remember him being in like that
He was in something after
that remake of Andromeda, but I don't remember after that. Like, I don't remember him being in like an investigative show, but
I thought he was, but I could be wrong. They all blend together. That's the whole point of the Verhoeven effect. All these are the same thing, so just a different like kind of disguise on it, but yeah, same kind of thing.
Well, I mean, really, what the Verhoeven effect is about giving like too much credit to these shows because like they're kind of superfluous, easy to consume.
Yes.
And so we're trying to like examine it,
Analyze something.
What does this say about society? Like, what does the Mentalist say about society? And some of the things we're working on is like how like society's breaking down. It's like everything is.
I could take a crack at what the Mentalist means about society if you want. So
Sure.
basically, so it boils down a lot to what's going on right now. Instead of trusting in science, we're hoping for some magical character, this unicorn, this Mentalist to solve it for us. These doctors have all the stuff we need. But no, don't worry. This one guy I know told me that this vaccine isn't worth it. So that's how that relates.
Well, yeah, that's kind of how the show works. Is like you have these cops, they're trying to do their cop stuff, and then Patrick Jane is like solving stuff. We call it here like he's basically doing magic, but he's just kind of like using intuition and putting things together. But like he doesn't have proof of anything he does. He just has an idea, and because he's usually the smartest person in every room, he's usually right. And we're kind of waiting for when he's not.
Yeah, I'm assuming at some point that happens.
Yeah,
that happens to all of us.
Well, I mean that's like sort of the hubris of the show is that he brings the wrath of a serial killer because he gets hired on to help catch this guy named Red John, and Red John kills his family essentially because he said something he didn't like. And then so his whole journey is to try to catch this guy, but also in the meantime he's just helping them in general catch killers. Which that whole like setup is what makes the show more interesting than the other ones, essentially, because there's kind of like there's
bigger stakes for it.
Yeah. But in the meantime, we just kind of have these. I don't know, like that's kind of we haven't got enough episodes to really get into it. But like in the X-Files, you had like every 3 episodes, you had the series or the season arc. Mm-hmm. But like, and then the 2 episodes in between were just like Monster of the Week episodes. They had nothing to do with like the Smoking Man or stuff like that. But then like every 3rd episode, it's like, oh, back to the Smoking Man. What's going on? What evil thing is the government doing?
Yeah.
But like, we haven't really gotten enough in here to see like a season. Like
what the through line is for the whole season.
Yeah. because also like these police procedurals, they're kind of built to be, you can watch them every week. You don't need to know what came before, which like makes them digestible, and also like what hinders what makes them interesting is because, you know, we like build a story throughout, but like you can't do that.
No.
Yeah,
I mean, you can do that, but like if you want your show to be popular and you want it to appeal to a mass audience, you can't have a show that requires you to watch every episode.
Yeah,
to get
because
into
40% of their audience like missed an episode because they had a stroke or they had something else happen. So,
I mean,
never,
not
like, break the fourth wall and like look at the camera like Liberty Mutual Life Insurance or like the Tom Selleck commercials where he's like, "We're not gonna take her home. We're just refinancing." You guys seen that one? That one's hilarious.
Yeah.
He says like 5 times, "We're not taking your home." I don't trust Tom Selleck. He's a shady son of a bitch.
Yeah, I mean, and a lot of people too. I mean, a lot of lessons were learned from the, early '90s Twin Peaks, which like every show connected, and it became you had to torture yourself. It's like, how are we going to move it along this week? And it's like, oh, we're just going to get wacky, and that's why like Twin Peaks season 1 is remembered as like the greatest television, and Twin Peaks season 2 is not. It's like, okay, we're maintaining a boil here that's just going to burn away all the water. So
they can't keep topping themselves there.
Well, you can't be too smart for the room all the time either. That gets old.
But I mean, in modern times, like nowadays, you can build a show with more through lines because there is an expectation that, you know, of binge watching, and these are easily accessible. That you can
people
do
don't
that.
necessarily have to watch it when it airs live, so they can catch up.
But a lot of these CBS shows, like they're still built on, you know, what do you call that?
Just the old model of serial television.
Yeah,
episodic television.
Yep.
Yeah.
So.
And that's what we're plumbing the depths of here.
Yeah.
And like I said, I don't hate it at all. When we started doing this, I thought I was really going to hate this. I was like, okay, I'm going to get through a season and just tap out. And it's like, no, I don't hate it. But I'm not like glued to the TV. Like I must absorb every detail because it's going to come back later. No, it's not necessary.
But also, like we're not necessarily giving these shows like their best foot. Like the first season of a lot of shows typically isn't their best season. Like usually they kind of like figure it out, and like the best season of a show is its second and third season. All these shows we're watching is their first season.
Right. That's true.
Yeah. Like Parks and Rec is very boring in the first season. It's not very good. There's a giant hole in town, like a sinkhole kind of thing. It's like, okay, it gets better. You have to build up the cast and the world and everything else.
The best example of that I could come up with is like Star Trek: The Next Generation. Yeah. Watch that 87 season. Like, whoa, how did this make it? I mean, you watch it fondly because you know, like, oh, this is going to get a whole hell of a lot better. But just to sit down and watch, like, The Next Generation, that's one that really stands out to me. That, like, oh, they had such a rough first season. They actually did not know what they were doing with the characters, and it's, you know, they had a general idea. And also that was from an earlier era of television that made it, you know, almost
and an incredibly rough production cycle.
And horrible. That's why people are like, why doesn't Patrick Stewart come back and support the show anymore? Why don't these guys act anymore? It's like, because they were in a concentration camp of Star Trek for 11 years or something. It's like, oh yeah, they don't want to come back to this. They've had the love of acting beat out. I mean, Patrick Stewart hasn't. He wants to do Shakespeare, but yeah. Anyway, not one of our shows.
Miami Vice, Season 1, Episode 5, Calderon's Return, Part 2, also known as Calderon's Demise, the original title.
That's when it was ran as a movie, right?
I think, some things got changed for the VHS releases, and so like some of these titles got mixed around. Also, like you called it Calderon's Demise, that like kind of gives it away, but
it's like, oh, this is what's going to happen in this episode.
Original air date October 26, 1984, NBC Friday. While on the trail of Calderon and Bimini, Tubbs falls in love with a woman who forces him to consider his loyalties. Showrunner Michael Mann written by Anthony Yerkovich, Alfonso Ruggiero, Jer Cernow, and directed by Paul Michael Glazer. That name somewhat caught my eye. He is Starsky from Starsky and Hutch.
Nice.
Who Michael Mann wrote on Starsky and Hutch. Also a director in his own right, mostly TV director, but his most famous movie he directed was The Running Man.
Okay. Be a cool movie.
Yeah. But there's not the... I don't really know enough of his stuff to see, like, what did he bring to this episode? I'm not sure, but...
Well, yeah, it's Miami Vice is... There's so much style there. It's really hard to, like, what's the individual director's thumbprint? It's like, well, you're kind of in a box of pastels and scantily clad women.
So we start off with a threatening interrogation scene where you just see water pouring from nowhere until it's revealed, and then Tubbs just slaps the glass away, and they're like, oh, they're threatening the hell out of this guy, but they're technically not hurting him, but they're threatening to kill him, essentially. Yeah. Put a snitch tag on him, or what they call it, a snitch coat or something on like that.
Snitch jacket.
Yeah, snitch jacket, yeah. Yep. And then there's like some weird, like, discordant music stings. Yeah. And I'm like, are they doing something? But no, because then it just turns into a music video when they take their boat to the Bimini.
Yeah, this is the biggest appearance so far of Crockett's cigarette boat.
Yeah, because you haven't seen it since the first episode.
Boat.
He can afford that on the salary he makes.
Well, as a cover agent is a drug dealer, it was seized. And
yeah.
Oh yeah. You said that in the first episode. That's how they explain all the cars and.
Yeah, that's how Tubbs like has all these cool cars and stuff. Is that like he's technically supposed to be this drug runner guy, and he has all this cool stuff from drug running, but really it's just stuff they've seized from drug dealers or porn dealers or whatever.
Yeah,
or whatever advice you got.
Yeah.
I really like this opening sequence because it's just a moody music video. Like they cut to some footage from they have flashbacks to previous episodes, which probably helped them out a lot. They have a cool helicopter shot of the boat driving. They have this song Voices. I can't remember what's. Although I thought what they just reused the same line again, because like if you actually listen to that song, like that like Voices, I hear voices is like the best part of the song, and the rest of the song is kind of like awkward and weird.
Yeah, they didn't do the Ghostbusters thing. It's like we're going to take the coolest parts of these songs and just play them on loop, and then everyone's going to look for these songs. It's like they don't exist. We just look for them.
But yeah, it's cool. It really worked for me. I kind of pine for these days because like I think a lot of people like got tired of this stuff where basically you're just inserting music videos into your movies. Yeah. And people, it's like, what are you doing? That's just extravagant. You're just taking music and let it tell the story rather than through cinematography and acting. But I love this crap, and I think it is due for a comeback.
It's cool. Why not use the camera to tell a story for a little bit? Camera and the right music and some cool visuals. Yeah, people don't need to constantly be talking.
Yeah.
So you're talking like the dance scene at the McDonald's and Mac and Me, like that kind of thing?
Not exactly the same thing. Yeah.
I know. I'm just saying that as a joke.
I know. I'm playing the straight guy here. So.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. I mean, Nathan is just ending.
Yeah, and so I think I get what you're saying. Like instead of people talking, it's more like it's like in news like parlance, it's like a Nat Pack where like you don't have a reporter talking. It's just like whoever's there like saying stuff, and then there's music or sound or something going on. It moves the story along. It's not someone doing dialogue and exposition the whole time. Yeah.
Well, I mean, like whenever I one of the shortcuts I use when I write scripts is I will put together a song list, because I usually like create action scenes and stuff based on like songs I'm listening to. And then like I will create a song list that equals the length of a movie, and then I'll write the movie within those song lists. So now it's not back-to-back songs being used, but it was just a guideline I used. But like every time I have the action sequence of the song, essentially I'm just making a music video, and I'm using and then I'm like directly using like the lyrics of the song to inform what's happening on screen, and that's kind of seen as stupid nowadays. It's like you're not making your movie, you just stopped your movie you're making to make a music video, and sometimes that is incredibly stupid and extravagant and unnecessarily, and sometimes it's fun as hell.
So I thought another example, you know, the movie Rad, when they're doing the bicycle like dance at the high school, that's an example, because there's not really talking, it's just them like, well, the stunt double pretending to be Lori Loughlin or whatever. Like,
well, and this is something like in Miami, in the Miami Vice universe, and the things that people fondly remember is like, oh, Miami Vice had the best shootouts. It's like, well, no, they kind of had standard shootouts, but they had like the Phil Collins drum solo from the era that night in the background, and that made it. Oh, this is a spectacular shootout. It's like, no, it's some guy standing there shooting a pistol at someone else. But when you put that sound to it and the style and the look of the show, it's like, oh, these are amazing.
A lot more epic that way.
Yeah. I mean, they're building the atmosphere with this stuff. They're like, and like, you know, the story is like what you bring to it. It's like, oh, they're traveling to they're going out of district to another place to catch a guy, and then they're playing this music, and then they have like the flashbacks to like when they killed his brother, and they don't flash back to Jimmy Smith being killed, but they do it with Tubbs' brother getting killed, and you can look at that and it's like, you know, it's saying voices, I hear voices, and it kind of like what you can imply is like, this is what they're thinking in their head, like this is what they have to do, and then like when you see shots of them, they're riding this big ass boat like as fast as they can, but they have very serious faces, you know. Yeah, that's what you can do it. That's
makes sense.
So we are at the 5-minute mark. I will make another call and call you guys back. Nathan, do you have to do anything with your recorder?
I'm just gonna let it keep going.
Okay.
You can, edit this out, because otherwise it'll be 2 separate files.
Okay. All right. I'll call you back.
Yeah. So you could play that like Miami Vice inspired music, and I could sit here and look grim faced holding this.
I think that should be like a reoccurring thing when you're going from The Mentalist to this, to play that and just sit there and stare for like 5 minutes and just be like, wasn't that great? Yeah, that's what I do every time. It'd be funny.
Listeners will love it.
Yeah, I think so.
Just imagine riding a boat into the sunset right now, folks.
Voices.
And you didn't have to pay for it because it was some drug dealer's boat. So that's the best part.
Now, I'll tell you something about this episode. At the end of this, NBC ran a thing that said Miami Vice has been picked up for a full season.
Yeah,
which is why when you get into the next episode, things start to change. The music changes. Not the music that we're talking about, but the intro music. Actors are coming in that will be permanent parts of this, and it starts to get it gets bleaker and bleaker as it goes on. This is one of the first episodes where one of the main characters falls in love with somebody, and his motives and concepts about what he's doing are challenged. That becomes a recurring theme.
Yeah.
So he's have a lot of sex in Miami Vice.
Yeah, I did write when I saw her. I did write question mark Calderon's daughter. So
yeah,
just guessing, but yeah, that ended up being correct.
Yes, this is still 80s TV.
Well, it's like, they made that when they showed him, they made him seem like maybe older than he was, and then like she just looked really young, so I just put that together. So, well, also they have like Tubbs like calling her a whore early on, and so it's like that's a little rough. I mean, she didn't hear it, but like he just refers to her as like, yeah, that's called around whore or something like that. Like that's all she did, and I'm like, oh, that's going to be an overshoot, like when it's real that she's his daughter and not his like.
Is that when they were looking through the binoculars, and for some reason Crockett's binoculars looked like he was looking through a high-powered telescope? Like people were 4 times the size. It's like, wait, they're passing binoculars back and forth, and they're standing the same distance. That was kind of discordant, but I don't know how this was edited together.
Once again, they have a car shootout, and they have the weird slow motion thing again.
Yep.
And then it ends in a Dukes of Hazzard jumping to the water.
Yes, that happens a lot.
Which the guy's just like, oh, they probably drowned and leave. It's like, why don't you go check?
We're not gonna follow up. We're just gonna assume it's fine.
Yeah, we put all this effort into it. Let's just drive away, go get a burger. But criminals are lazy and stupid. So.
Yeah. I mean, Calderon's just like, yeah, put a bolt in his head and drag him to the river.
Yep.
We have Crockett pretending to be the Argentinian who is the assassin from the previous episode.
Yes. I like how his well, they put his death in the paper as a threat.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's like that made me pine for the old days. It's like, oh yeah, you could do that. Put your enemy's obituary in the paper, just pay for it, and let him know that he'll read it. And it's like, oh, that's scary. Somebody put 10 minutes of thought into this, instead of nowadays where it's just like calling someone something horrible on social media, and it's printing an obit in the Miami Herald that sends a message.
Well, I was gonna say, if you did that today, it wouldn't work because nobody reads the newspaper. So it'd be kind of
That's why I said it made me pine for earlier, more innocent times.
It'd be like on Facebook, or it'd be like a TikTok, or like something.
And the FBI would come kick your door down because you made a threat. It's like, what?
Also, we have Tubbs like trying to convince Angelina that her dad is a drug kingpin. She doesn't want to believe it. She thinks he's just like an investor.
Seemed to kind of hit the wrong note with me. It's like, really?
Yeah.
Okay. Well, there is, naivete is wonderful, but when it's deliberate, it's kind of strange.
Why is Dad surrounded by people with guns?
Don't all investment bankers have like assassins hanging around? Guys
just in case.
holding guns constantly. Isn't that normal?
Yeah, have you guys not heard of hostile takeovers in business? You gotta have backup. You gotta have somebody.
Then Calderon has like interesting because they catch like Crockett at some point, and that they imply that Calderon is like is golfing with the judges that are supposed to put him away but won't because he has too much money, and so this implies corruption at the highest. And he's once again like referencing like they're making $350 a week as cops, and he's making like $1 million a week or something like that. So,
yeah. That carries on through this series. Actually, the corruption gets like crazy. It gets like festival levels, and it's still these 2 Miami Vice cops. We're gonna fight it out with a senator. It's like, okay, well, that's a nice story.
I wonder if this like has something like Michael Mann likes to do stuff about like where work is sacred.
Yes.
This is like probably most evident in probably in Thief. He has a real like kind of like sacred like
his work ethic.
Yeah, work ethic as being sacred, and people screwing you over for the money you deserve for the work you put in.
Yeah.
So that seems like this stuff here. It's like, what is it to Crockett and Tubbs? Like, this obviously is a battle they aren't going to win just because of the pure mechanics of, like, the needs of vice by the people and the money that flows around because of it. And, like, why are these guys doing it? It's like, well, because these guys get out of line. And it's like, purely they do it because they think they're making a difference and they're good at it.
Yeah. It's a world they understand.
Yeah. But yeah, like, and then, like, Crockett gets, like, kidnapped at the weird, like, party thing. And
Yeah.
then, but then Tubbs comes to save him, and there's, like, a shootout. And then
Now,
eventually,
that party, pay attention, notice that it's going to become a clue as this series goes on. You notice how discordant and non-Miami Vice that party looked? I mean, it was in another country, of course.
Yeah.
But notice it did not follow the Miami Vice look. It was a darker looking club. People were not dressed the same way. It's like you'll see that come up. Usually it involves going to other places outside of Miami, but it's always a clue that's like some bad shit's getting ready to go down.
Oh, okay. Yeah, because I did see, like, some trivia about, like, how Michael Mann controlled, like, the color palette of the TV show. And there's something.
I didn't know. I thought it was filmed that way deliberately. I didn't know about that.
I'm not sure if this involved, but, like, something essentially he said, like, no earth tones. So it's like nobody can wear red, but, like, he broke the rules for this episode, and I guess maybe because it was in a different country, so that might have been some.
Well, it happens again, and it's always somewhere outside of Miami's, like the safe zone where you just kind of shoot at each other with a lot of bullets and no one gets hurt except the bad guys, and sometimes the police chief. But when you notice, like, when something doesn't seem like that doesn't look Miami Vice, it's always like major characters are going to have a life-changing thing coming. It's kind of a tell.
Okay. Yeah, the shootout, and, like, but this time, like, Calderon tries to pull a gun on him, and then Crockett shoots him with an MP5. So.
Break him with machine gun fire. The gun firing goes on a lot longer than that man looks injured. It's like, oh, he just blew him to bits. But
and then he falls into the pool in a weird way that just looked like, well, that's disgusting. I don't know. It's just like, oh, now he's gonna drown if he hadn't died from the bullet. So it's like,
he's a goner.
Yeah, that's because then this blood looked black with the way they were lighting it from the pool.
Yeah,
like it was one of those. It's like, oh, is this evil leaving the body, or is this just how the lighting worked? Who knows?
Apparently, like, there's other cuts of this scene where that's more. It's basically him getting. It's like that RoboCop scene that got cut from RoboCop, where the guy gets shot for like 2 minutes. Apparently, there's more of him, like, getting shot more. So, in other cuts of this.
Well, you know what that's based on? Why that's in Miami Vice a lot is because, again, everything that happens in this TV show was really based on the actual crimes going on in Miami, like the kinds of crimes, and that was when people were taking Mac 10s and going into nightclubs. And they're like, we're going to kill one guy. But, there's all these other people standing around. And they were fully automatic Mac 10s, which are, wildly hard to control. And they would go in there and just shoot the whole room. Or they would shoot the guy and, like, he's, like, fallen into a chair. He's dead. It's like, oh, we're going to change magazines and shoot him again. And that was a lot of overshooting went on. I mean, watch Cocaine Cowboys. It's like they'll talk about how that stuff went down in those nightclubs down there. It's like, 15 people get killed. And it was always guys from, like, another country. They'd bring them in and then bring them out.
I also been Rise and Kill First, where, like, they had, like, because they always had silenced 22 pistols, so they'd have, like, 5 guys put, like, 60 bullets on a guy just to make sure he was dead.
Yeah, they used to say weird stuff about the Mossad, like they'd get like 22 longs, hollow pointed, and then it's like, oh, they put cyanide in the hollow point cavity and seal it with wax. It's like, no, they did no such thing because that's dangerous to transport and it's jiggy. You just shoot them a bunch. You just shoot them until all their organs are pierced, and it's like, we got him. You don't need to overthink it like some dude in a lab putting a drop of cyanide in a bullet. It's like, no, you just shoot them a whole bunch. But it's more exciting to have the cyanide bullet.
They poisoned that one guy with like toothpaste, right? They did do stuff kind of like that, but not poison bullets.
Yeah, no, yeah, they used what was it? The Russians love that curare or something. Yeah, it was some kind of it was like a signature poison.
Yeah. But yeah, I can't remember. Did Angelina like kind of just like no sell her father being killed? Like, oh well, I guess I'll continue on. I can't remember. I remember that being kind of awkward.
Seem like she didn't throw her arms around him like, why did this happen? That didn't seem to happen.
Yeah.
Maybe it's the Calderon genes. Like now it's my turn.
We have like basically.
Father.
I don't know if they reshot this or they just reused the same footage, but they have them going back to Miami, so it's another helicopter boat shot.
Yep, reverse. They just shot a bunch of it and like, where was the sunset? Get that right, because the guys will pick us apart on the internet in the future because they're sailing the same way twice.
And the show ends on
people on a podcast that are going to question it.
And the show ends on Tina Turner's "What's Love Got to Do with It." So that was great.
Was actually surprised to hear that. It's like, oh, they retained this. Okay, somehow. That's Calderon's Return Part 2, or Calderon's Demise, the movie, however you want to watch it. And next week we'll see Miami Vice almost fully fleshed out. To be what
is the next episode when Michael Mann takes over fully, or is it the episode after that?
Well, I'd have to look up my trivia to know that.
So I want to say it's 6 when Yurkovich left.
Yeah, this will be.
So I'm not sure if he like left on 6 or before 6. I'm not sure.
Well, this is when Edward James Olmos shows up.
Yeah.
Who became like almost the signature character of Miami Vice, even though you had the two main guys. Everyone always liked when he was on camera as this kind of grim person who, like, I support you, but I hate you. That kind of guy, that kind of boss. But yeah.
So I'd say like Miami Vice is probably the best episode of the 3 this week. But
oh yeah, easily.
Okay.
The most engrossing. I mean, again, Miami Vice is not. It's not fair to do these 3 shows together.
Yeah.
Let's take the spin the wheel. We're making a crime investigation show, or kind of the quirky California Mentalist, and then the most iconic show of the 1980s, directed by Michael Mann. It's not really fair.
Well, I mean, also one of the reasons we chose this is to use Miami Vice as the control group. Like, it's a known quantity. Like, we know what effect this has on, what cultural effect this has on society, whereas the other ones we don't know yet. It's probably not going to be a lot. But
well, it's not. It's a different era, different time. Similar ratings, though, if you look at. I mean, Miami Vice had more eyes on, of course, because that was the '80s, and that's how you consumed it. But yeah, if you look at I did do some stuff. It's like, let's look at the averages and ratings and try to compare these. And these shows aren't far off of where Miami Vice was in terms of eyes on for today's numbers.
Yeah.
That's because everyone's like, well, Happy Days had the most views of anyone. It's like, well, yeah, because there was nothing else to do. Remember when MASH ended, and most watched TV show in history? It's like, well, because everyone was drunk.
It's like 120 million people or something.
Let's get hammered and watch the end of MASH.
Yeah, people don't have cell phones or computers or video games.
Yep. All right.
Oh yeah, now we have to chill. I forgot about the shilling stuff. So, if you if you like what you've heard, and how couldn't you? You could, if you go our website, you can go to verhoeveneffect.com and it'll take you to the Anchor FM page. We also go to Anchor FM/Verhoeven Effect. The way I like to remember how to spell Verhoeven is Verho, Verho, and then even at the end, Verhoeven Effect. And then that's the way. There's probably other ones that you probably do Ver, Ho, Hoe, and then Vin if you want to. But anyways, that's the way I always remember how to spell it. Anyways, you go to those pages. On that page are our episodes. You can listen to us on Spotify, Overcast, whatever. Some point we'll be on Apple. you're listening to this somehow, so it really doesn't matter. There is a listener support page, which you can give us money, and if you give us money, we'll do more of this faster.
I'll have a higher quality background.
There are 3 tiers. There is the 99 cents and the $4.99, the $9.99 tier. That is a monthly cost. If you would like to support us, you can do so. But anyways, so for the Verhoeven effect, I'm Conlon.
I'm Nathan.
And I'm Matt.
Goodbye, America. I still haven't had a catchphrase for the show. So. All right, now let me take us off YouTube.